Thanks very much. Good afternoon, everyone. In this brief presentation, I just want to give you a quick overview of some of the quite dramatic boom in critical minerals exploration that's occurred in the Northern Territory in the past couple of years, and what that means in terms of new discoveries that have been made, new opportunities, and also a real move towards more downstream processing in the Territory. So mineral exploration expenditure in the Territory has been going through a really strong boom in the last couple of years, pretty much back where it was at the peak of the boom, the last boom back in 2011. And as I'll be pointing out, most of this is driven by exploration for critical minerals, as well as for copper and uranium, which are both pretty strong in the Territory at the moment. And this is really shown up by the ABS figures that show that since about 2021, we've had a very dramatic boom in exploration for commodities that are classed as other by the ABS. And that's effectively critical minerals other than nickel and cobalt. And in the Territory, that's been particularly around lithium, rare earths, and to a lesser extent, graphite. We are also seeing, a continuing strength in gold in the Northern Territory, and increasing exploration for base metals, which is particularly copper, and a really encouraging recovery in uranium that I think we're going to see continue for the next few years. We've also seen a really dramatic uptake in exploration tenure in the Northern Territory. And if we look at from 2018 through to recently, there have been a number of areas that have gone from being quite sparsely held to covered in tenure. I'd particularly point out, I don't know whether this works, possibly not, the area east of Tennant Creek for copper and copper gold, but the Aileron province down in the southern part in Central Australia for rare earths, for lithium, for copper, and in particular in the last couple of years, the recognition by explorers that the West Taranto, which is seeing the boom for niobium and rare earths exploration just across the border in Western Australia, that province continues into the Northern Territory, and we've seen that area solidly pegged now. And really, the entire Aileron province of Central Australia has very high potential for carbonatite-hosted or carbonatite-related rare earths. So I'll just go through some of the really key critical minerals in the Northern Territory, starting with lithium. It's been a bit of a mixed story in the last few years. We saw the opening of the Territory's first lithium mine by Core Lithium just a couple of years ago. That's now gone into care and maintenance because of the substantial drop in the lithium price. That said, we're seeing a very strong growth in the lithium resource base in the Northern Territory. I think it's gone up 250% since the start of 2023. Still strong ongoing lithium exploration and resource growth, which should put the Territory's lithium sector in a much better place for a restart when lithium prices recover. And we have seen beyond Core Lithium's resources, new lithium resources defined by Lithium Plus Minerals, who are actually looking at the potential for a near-term DSO lithium operation. And right across the Territory, we're seeing quite a bit of lithium exploration, particularly up in the Bino field near Darwin, but also in Central Australia, where we know there are spodumene-bearing pegmatites. I think there's the potential for significant lithium discoveries down in Central Australia. Rare earths, obviously, the Territory's home to the Nolans project, a really exciting project that promises to be Australia's only integrated mine and rare earths separation plant, producing NdPr oxide. I won't go into too much detail about Nolans other than to say they've got their debt funding in place. It's now a matter of getting the equity funding secured. Most of the debt funding has come from government export credit agencies as well as NAIF. But once that equity funding is in place and the final offtake agreements, we very much look forward to seeing this project move to FID, which is going to be a massive boost to the Northern Territory. But we see lots of other emerging rare earths projects around the Northern Territory, particularly clay-hosted rare earths, a number of recent discoveries, Transition Minerals, who have identified a significant new rare earths project, as well as an associated vanadium and gallium resource in the Barkly region. And down in Central Australia, a number of clay-hosted rare earth deposits that have just been discovered in the last 12 months or so, mainly by private companies that are quite rich in the magnet feed rare earths. And as I mentioned, a lot of potential for carbonatite-hosted rare earths and niobium, as well as unconformity-hosted rare earths up in the Tanami region. So a lot of potential for rare earths in the NT. In terms of graphite, just in the last 18 months, we've had the discovery of Australia's largest graphite deposit near Pine Creek, about 200 kilometres south of Darwin. Very large resource, but when you look at the exploration target along a 20-kilometre strike length, this is a globally significant scale graphite project. I guess what we're waiting for at the moment is the metallurgical test work that can prove the economic viability of producing battery material out of this deposit. But we see this as having the potential to be a globally significant project for Australia in terms of graphite. Copper, maybe not technically a critical mineral, but there is a lot happening for copper in the Northern Territory, particularly around the Tennant Creek region. We're seeing significant high-grade copper resources discovered by Castile Resources at Rover 1, Tennant Minerals, who are here at IMARC at their Bluebird prospect. Just yesterday, there was an announcement of a strategic alliance between Emerson Resources, CUFE Limited and Tennant Minerals, 3 ASX-listed companies, to work together for the development of infrastructure for developing the copper-rich projects around Tennant Creek. And I think this is a really exciting development in terms of companies collaborating to get the economies of scale to get these copper-rich deposits developed around Tennant Creek that also do contain gold and significant cobalt and bismuth. And as I mentioned, uranium's having a real resurgence in the Northern Territory, particularly up in the Alligator Rivers uranium field on Aboriginal land. Alligator Energy, DevEx Resources, Deep Yellow and others are very active out there. We're definitely seeing a resurgence in uranium in the Northern Territory. We also have Australia's largest undeveloped phosphate resources, which are important just not for fertiliser, but also for the potential for yellow phosphorus and for LFP cathode production. And Avenira Limited, who have the Wanneroo deposit out in the Barkly region between Tennant Creek and Mount Isa, are looking at the potential of a yellow phosphorus plant at the mine site, and then having LFP cathode production and battery-grade thermal phosphoric acid at the Middle Arm Sustainable Development Precinct near Darwin. And Australasia Metals that are here at the conference are also looking at some potential high purity silica projects in the Territory. And really, what's central to a lot of the future for critical minerals in the Northern Territory is the Middle Arm Sustainable Development Precinct, a new industrial precinct being planned for Middle Arm near Darwin. This is associated or co-located with our big LNG facilities. A focus on low emissions hydrocarbons with offshore CCS, very large offshore CCS fields, and critical minerals processing associated with low emissions energy, including from the Sun Cable renewable energy project. And already there are companies that have land secured at Middle Arm for potential downstream processing of critical minerals. I mentioned Avenira Limited looking at battery-grade thermal phosphoric acid and LFP cathode material. Taiwan, who are looking at developing a project just across the border in WA, and the Speewah project and producing vanadium electrolyte and Taiwan in the Northern Territory. Castile Resources looking at producing copper metal, cobalt sulfate and gold at a plant in Middle Arm, and looking at using that as a a potential facility for third parties to bring in copper concentrate. And there's other opportunities further down the track, including spherical graphite from Kingsland Minerals project, as well as magnesium metal, lithium hydroxide and carbonate. There's a lot of projects being investigated, but I think having this precinct right on Australia's north coast next to a deep water port close to Asia, it's a pretty exciting opportunity for the Northern Territory. And the Territory government's doing a lot to try and support the upstream sector. We have a major exploration initiative called Resourcing the Territory, $9.5 million a year to support exploration that has now been made permanent. It's been locked into future budgets. So the Territory government is very committed to supporting the exploration sector through grants, through new geoscience to try and highlight potential and de-risk exploration investment. And there's a bunch of new pre-competitive geoscience work occurring across the Territory to support the industry. I won't go into detail now, but please come to the booth and we can talk to you a lot more about some of these programs that are underway. We also have grants for the sector. We gave away $4 million to companies in this current financial year for a range of projects. This is co-funding up to $200,000. And we've included a new category called Advancing Critical Minerals to try and encourage companies and to co-fund companies who want to reanalyse existing sample sets for critical minerals or undertake early stage ore characterisation or metallurgical test work on critical minerals. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about the Northern Territory. If you want to come and find out more about what's happening in the NT, come to our Ages conference in Alice Springs in April. Everyone who's anyone in the sector in the Northern Territory is there, and it's a good party as well. And if you want more information, we're at booth K33. Please come and see us. We have a critical minerals in the Northern Territory guide that is also translated into Korean, Japanese or Indonesian. And we have lots of other information that we'll be very happy to share. So thanks very much.